Thank you for joining us. This is another episode of the Feeling Elfish podcast by Greenwing Wealth Management, which I've gotten mixed reviews on the name. Do you have an opinion?
No, because I'm kind of feeling a little elfish myself
I feel
today.
like the expression works. I feel like it makes sense.
And it's a kind of cool deal to be elfish in Helotes too.
It is. It's
Like, I don't think I'd rather be anywhere else.
well, with me today is Matt Merchant, who has done a ton of awesome stuff in his life that hopefully we'll get into. But Matt, why don't if you want to give a quick introduction or bio on
Okay,
yourself,
all right.
it'd be fun. I might hop in depending on.
No worries. So, quick introduction. Matthew Merchant grew up in northern Michigan.
I just heard Kid Rock in my head right now.
Yes,
The way you said northern Michigan.
So did I. Yes, I always do too. Nothing wrong with that. Did a lot of fishing off the dock. And all that. It was a lot of good times. A lot of good times.
Summertime in northern Michigan. That's
yes,
what I hear is the
amazing.
best. It's the peak.
Yeah, it's the peak. So that really laid the groundwork for everything that I have done thus far in my life.
And so, I'm sorry, I'm already jumping in.
Don't jump in.
Michigan is near a lake, right?
Couple
Okay, so a couple big ones.
big ones.
But you thought the fastest way out of Michigan is joining the Navy because they have to send me to one coast or the other. Is that the idea?
Okay, funny story. Now, I went into the Army recruiter and I figured out this was the quickest way out of northern Michigan because there's really not a whole lot going down there for a young person going on. So really, there's not a lot. So I decided that I would go join the Army and got into the Army recruiter office and they were telling me all the great things that I could do in the Army. And then as I walked out, the Navy guy was like, "Hey, come here. Check this out. So how about a little geography lesson?" I'm like, "Well, I love geography. Let's talk about it." He's like, "Do you know where Fort Hood is?" Nope. "Do you know where Fort Bliss is?" Nope. How about, I forget the name of the one out in El Paso, but he named like 3 in Texas and Georgia. And they were like, and he says, "Let's talk about the weather in these places." If you've never been to Texas in August, you probably won't like it. But have you ever been to San Diego? No. How about Virginia Beach? Mm-mm. Jacksonville, Florida? Do you know where these places are? I said, "No, I don't know. I mean, I have an idea." And he's like, "Oh, here, look at the map. They're on the coast. Well, you can learn to surf by the time you're 20. And I'm like, learn to surf or play with sand in August in Texas. No, how about let's just go. Yeah, let's join the Navy.
What a sales pitch.
Yeah,
that guy was dialed
truly
in.
was. He was dialed in. Yeah, he got me hook, line, and sinker.
So you were like, this is 18-year-old Matt.
18-year-old Matt, yeah.
And you enlisted?
Yep, enlisted. Nothing. Made
E0?
Made $250 a month for the first I don't know, 6 months or something like that. It was incredible.
So what were you go to boot camp, which is that's in San Diego, I guess?
So I went to at the time there were boot camps in Orlando.
Okay.
Great Lakes, which is just north of Chicago, and San Diego. So I went to the one in Chicago.
Are you just regionally assigned?
I think it's definitely a regional thing. There's some special contracts where they might send you to somewhere else, but yeah, I went to Chicago. I was looking at this the other day, and I don't know why, but I came into the Navy thinking I was going to be an advanced electronic warfare technician.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, super cool, right? Work on fighter jets and how stuff works on fighter jets, and like, I don't know. But at some point, I failed a hearing test in boot camp, and the career counselor there brought me into the office, sat me down, had a real serious conversation about what I should do in the Navy, and he says, "Look, all I have for you is you can be a cook or you can be a corpsman." And I instantly sat up because of my upbringing, right? I had 3 brothers, 3 sisters, mom. I was always cooking, and I just not happy with it. So he said, "You be a cook or you could be a corpsman." And I said, "Look, I'm not cooking shit for anybody. So I'll be a corpsman, whatever that is." And
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Did you legitimately not?
Had genuine, no clue what that
great.
was.
That makes it even better.
Yeah, it was so good. And I really didn't know what it was until the taxi dropped me off in front of this building. It had these great big caduceus on them. I'm like, this is medical. I could do this.
Okay.
I could do this. So yeah, I ended up being a Navy corpsman, and what an adventure that was. I mean,
so what? I'm going to fast forward because that feels like a pretty big role, right? Combat, unfortunately, yields casualties, and corpsmen are the first people, right, treating that.
Mm-hmm.
So that feels like a pretty, like the gravity of that job is enormous. So fast forward, you get attached to Marines.
I do.
Okay. I mean, I don't mean to jump in your story,
No.
but
This
like,
is just total good because and that's okay because the first few years were good, and I got a lot of basic training on how to do stuff, but they don't really train you for combat other than like, okay, there's a hole, stuff it, wrap it, put some morphine in it, and like send them to the next echelon of care.
is it like, so I'm sorry, I
Go
keep
ahead,
hopping
ask.
in here, but
This is
like, you know,
stuff.
war movies, right? We see American, we see war movies, Saving Private Ryan. I
Yeah.
think like the American mind is kind of what you said, like somebody's screaming, you run up, that's what you do, you have little morphine syringes, you hit them, you wrap it up, and you go, I'll move on to the next. Is that like a fair representation of, and I don't know all your experiences or
In
not, but
my
like,
experience, yeah, that's some of it. But so I didn't do a whole lot of battlefield medic stuff. I mean, I did some pretty cool stuff on the battlefield. Yes, the Battle of Fallujah was tough. I was in Ramadi in 2006. That was tough. A lot of death, a lot of carnage, a lot of broken Americans. But I spent my time in those two places mostly in the operating room where the carnage is controlled. A very controlled environment. There's a field hospital where, the battlefield medic does what he can for him, sends him to us, and we are there to like stabilize and save the life if possible. Right. So, yeah, we did some pretty amazing things in those places. Great team. Like, no man is an island, especially when there's combat going on. Couldn't speak enough about the team.
one of, I mean, I can't imagine. I think most people probably listening, it'd be hard to really imagine the seriousness of that sort of situation.
Oh, yeah.
We go, one of the guys who goes to our church, he was, I'm gonna get it wrong, Vice Wing Command, is that a thing? No, he's Air Force, but he,
Couldn't speak about
they,
the Air
I think
Force.
he was in healthcare of the Air Force, and I'm gonna get this wrong again, but I was stunned by, if they get a critical casualty to a treatment facility within like 60 minutes or 90 minutes or some,
Yeah, the golden hour. Yeah, so
is that right? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have even in medicine here in America, like you get in a car accident, that's a severe one. If you get to the hospital before 60 minutes, the likelihood of survival is exponentially goes up. We had, I want to say, I don't remember all the casualties we had in Fallujah, the first battle of Fallujah in the
It was
early.
famous though. I mean, that battle,
Yeah,
and
that
body
battle
or
was
both.
famous. So the first battle is like 2004. It's like January to November or something like that. It was every day. There was just a bunch of people who would come in really injured, really severely, and we did good medicine in bad places. And I think the survival rate was something like 98%. If they got in the door, 98% survival rate. So
It's pretty incredible.
that's incredible. And especially, when they told us we were going and they said, here's the deal. They told us the deal and it really wasn't the deal because we had to make do with what we had. And we didn't, I felt we had enough, but there were times when like, man, we could really use some more experienced people because I had no experience in trauma surgery before I got into Fallujah. And that was like eye opening, taking a drink out of a fire hydrant when you're trying to learn. And I had some incredible doctors that were there that taught as they were going. They were cool under pressure. They were calm. They were never yelling or screaming. It was just like, here's what we're doing. Let's take care of the patient. Let's get through this. And then the best part of all of that, the learning part really happened afterwards. We do the hot wash, get everybody in the circle and say, okay, what'd you learn? What could we do better? And every day we got better every day. And it was like 9 months of just pure, just every day,
No days off.
not a one. There's times, where we didn't have casualties, which was good.
But you guys don't know.
You never know when it's coming in. I mean,
Like, are you
so not at my level down there. I mean, I made it a point to get involved in the command level and say, okay, what operations are going on? Who's going where? What units are where? And, what are they likely to run into? So I can get ready to prepare for this. And I made it a point to know so that I could tell my guys to get ready,
Mhm.
and be ready for all this stuff. So it was, not everybody did that and not everybody was ready. So,
How do you, so there's so much, I mean, there's so much service you've done, not just in the military, even now, your teacher, city council, like I want to talk about all that, but this is, I mean, it just seems like a natural question. when you are saving lives is the upper echelon of finding purpose, of doing something purposeful in your
Yeah.
life. But the human aspect of that has got to be enormous. Like, how do you as an individual mentally have the fortitude to to continue in the midst of just such a horrific situation?
So I'll start with, and I mentioned it kind of sideways in this, is that you don't go through it alone, right? You're never alone. I still reach out to the people who I was with there and say, we run stuff by each other. When so if you were to go through something like that traumatic by yourself, I don't know if the mind could take it. But I think also part of growing up in northern Michigan, I was not an affluent family. I wasn't even middle, like I was really poor. And so you grow up doing hard things and not even knowing that they're hard. And then you fast forward and you get into really traumatic, hard circumstances. Your mind goes to a place, at least mine does, that allows me to really zoom in and focus on the minutia and what it is I'm doing right here, right now. And that's kind of how I got through it. It's just really focus. And then once I got through that, okay, tuck it back in the back somewhere deep dark where nobody will ever see it again, and let's move forward. And knowing that, okay, I made it through this. I did a good job, hopefully. Well, I did my best anyway. And, people lived and did the good thing, and I can build on that. And that's how I did it. I just kind of build on one hard thing after another. And don't to this day, I still challenge myself to do hard things. Maybe not physically hard,
No?
because my body can't take that anymore. Kinda blew through that, but, mentally, I challenge myself and I challenge the students every day at the high school where I work.
Yeah. I love the mug, so I don't know if it could be seen in the cameras here, but he BYOM'd here, brought his own mug, and it says, "I became a teacher for the money and fame." So my mom is a retired teacher, my dad is a retired college professor. Education is always something that was just like that was what I saw growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough man. That's a tough road. That's a tough road. I don't even talk about that. How long have you been at Health Careers?
So I've been at Health Careers High School now for 7 years, but I'll back up. So after those tours, those combat tours in Iraq, I wanted to, again, with purpose, drive the next batch of sailors who were gonna end up in theater treating casualties, and so I went and became a surgical tech instructor, where I was able to greatly impact and help forge the next generation of people who would deal in trauma without true trauma training, especially enlisted side.
So these kids, so you went through basic, you got your MOS, and then you're learning on the job, basically,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
wild.
absolutely.
This is wild. So your outcome of that is, hey, it'd be really cool if I could help the kids who were between boot camp and before deployment,
Before deployment, coming next.
just really try and flatten that learning curve, right? And so, okay,
Absolutely.
where is this? Is this domestic?
So yeah, it's domestic. So at the time there were two places you could go to surgical tech school in San Diego or Portsmouth, Virginia, which is just outside of Virginia Beach, and we went to Virginia,
Okay.
East Coast. We wanted something different. We'd always been on the West Coast. We wanted something different, so we wanted to
You
go to
kids by
Virginia.
this point? I don't know if you want to talk about your grandmother.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. So
that's got to be
in 2000, no, back up, 1990 something. Married my first wife, Kelly. We had 3 kids. Wonderful, wonderful, amazing kids. Just I couldn't speak enough about the kids. Kelly's pretty decent too.
so.
And then, so I had 3 kids, and then before Iraq, right? So
Okay.
while I was in Iraq, I had the 3 kids.
Okay.
After Iraq, got divorced, remarried, and at some point had twins while we were in Virginia.
Okay. All right.
So 2009, at this
There's a lot
point,
going on.
yeah, 2006 to 2009, end of 2006. We're in Virginia Beach there, kind of nice. Had twins, twin sons. They're amazing kids. Love them.
And you're teaching.
And I'm
Yeah.
teaching surgical tech
Yep, there we go.
school. And, I took what the Navy gave me. They gave me this nice baseline curriculum, and they asked me to create curriculum for tri-service. So Army, Navy, Air Force, at this time, they're downsizing. If you remember, I don't know if you remember in 2008, 2009, the military started downsizing. And by doing the downsizing, what they do is they take all these enlisted technical schools, especially the medical stuff, put all together, Army, Navy, Air Force, and let them train together. And so we did that actually here in San Antonio. I came down a couple times, put some curriculum together, helped write the Tri-Service Surgical Tech School while training the next group of surgical techs to go downrange. That's the first time in naval history, I guess naval history, that the surgical tech was accredited and you could take the national certifying exam for that. So that was a pretty cool little feather in my hat to create that. They still do it that way today. At least the Army, not the Army, but the Air Force and the Navy, they train together. The Army's still doing their own thing because they do it a little differently. But yeah, that was my first dive into teaching. I really liked the purpose. My purpose was to create someone who was more prepared than I was to go in and see a mangled body under pressure where seconds matter and really prepare them for that. And to this day, I still got, students who reach out and say, man, you set me up for life by this. You set a bar, a standard that was way above the average, and you held us to it, and we've become better for it. And, in reflecting, I mean, we're sitting here kind of reflecting. I did that for myself at a really young age too. I didn't want to be average, although my grades were less than average maybe. But, as far as reaching out, taking care of people and doing the right thing, I was always above average. Like I always had service in the back of my mind. So joining the Navy or the Army
was
was
that a
like a
nature or
no-brainer.
nurture thing? I'd be curious.
I do think so, right? So my mother had a huge, and I'm sure yours did, huge impact on the way I was raised and the way she taught me how to do things. And I'm the second oldest of 7. She had me like help her a lot, taking care of the siblings. So whether it was cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, cutting the grass, like I did it all growing up. And, working on the farm, just taking care of business,
Sure. That's what
So
you do. It's life.
always, and you don't know that like the circumstances probably aren't the best, but you just kind of push through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how life has been for me. Just push through to the next. What's next?
So after teaching surgical techs, getting them prepared for what they're going to encounter, was it you're still in the armed forces?
Still in the service, yeah.
Once you get out, though, it just seems like a natural transition to continue teaching.
Yeah, it took a while, but yeah,
Okay.
took a while. So I retired from the service in 2012. Took a job in San Diego as a surgical assistant for a group of like 23 surgeons, and they had me working 80, 90 hours a week. I mean, it was just nonstop. I thought working in the service was a lot of hours, and then I get out and I'm like, okay. I mean, it was like being deployed. Like it was so much. I would come home and crash, get up, go do it again, come home, crash, and hardly saw the family at all. But we were together, living the dream in Southern California.
San Diego, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
We actually lived 2 blocks from the beach. Funny story.
Oh.
So 2 blocks from the beach. First night, my wife at the time, and the boys, they were like 3 or something. And we've just been killing it all day, moving stuff into this house. And it's the end of the day. It's like, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. We open the windows and let the breeze come through. And we're laying there in bed. You can't hear a thing except you can hear the waves crashing because we're like 2 blocks from the beach. And she says, the wife says, she's like, what is that noise? And I'm like, we're 2 blocks from the beach. That's the waves crashing. People pay money for this. You're like not having it right now. This is crazy. But yeah, it was good. Like that was awesome to, have that experience.
Yeah.
No, but not a lot of people get to do that.
Yeah, I would say borderline beachfront property in San Diego, it's $1 bajillion nowadays.
Bajillion, at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's an official number.
That feels like it.
You were there in San Diego too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went to college, San Diego State. So I was there for 4 years, but San Diego State's inland a bit. It's about 7-8 miles, I think, down Freeway 8 right there. So I lived in kind of the Fashion Valley, Mission Valley area, which is still beautiful. Yeah. San Diego's
you can't go
San Diego's an all-time world city. Like if you could
get a chance,
if you could put your finger on a map and say I want to live there, San Diego's got to be top 10 of everybody.
If only you could afford it.
That's the tricky part.
If only you could afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. You got to be a bajillionaire to live.
So what years you're in San Diego?
92.
Okay, so it's a little
I
before
started
I
in
was there.
92,
Okay.
back and on and off for the next 20 years, right? So
So I was there 6 to 10, and so that was the housing crash was kind of in
Yep,
that
yep, yep.
period. And so one of my roommates' dads bought a property that we lived in, and it was in hindsight. I mean, you're 20 years old, you don't know
No
what money
idea.
is. I don't know what I'm doing,
No.
really, you know. And so, yeah, I didn't really probably appreciate how what that looked like. And now, like looking at Zillow on San Diego, forget about it, man.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I don't even know how anybody lives
So
there.
I think my first wife and I rented a house on 33rd Street in North Park
Okay,
for like $750 a month.
is it? I mean,
Little
that's.
2-bedroom bungalow. It was just,
Can you imagine if you bought something and just held onto it for the last 30 years? You'd be so rich.
you'd be a bajillionaire.
I mean, not that, but that would be just be, you'd be a bajillionaire. Move up,
Yeah,
move
you
on.
could
Yeah.
sell it for way under market and still make a crazy amount of money.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a really good friend of mine. He lives in San Diego, more I think North County. He wholesales out there, and when I'll talk to him all the time, and we'll look at properties, and he's just like, I just don't know how. You'd need to make hundreds of thousands of dollars annual. Like I would think you would need to make at minimum 250 to really live.
Just to be able to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a buddy who lives in Orange County too, and he's a medical rep salesman. That's what he makes. And he has a good time. He bought years.
It's a good time.
Because he bought years ago.
Oh, so he's kind of
he's like, he's in there, and he's like, yeah, man, I gotta make it.
So that timing is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in North County too, Carlsbad, Oceanside.
It's beautiful up there,
For a
and it's a
little
little less popular. I mean, it's been a while since I was out there.
Populated, but still, I mean, the Marines keep it.
Yeah, in Pendleton out there. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so you're a teacher now.
Yep.
And I think it's interesting. I mean, so you served on city council. Hello to city council.
I did.
I mean, when I look at your life, I see a high conviction man, pursue the right thing kind of at all costs. At least I think that is how I see your mantra.
Try.
And how you live it out. And so maybe talk about those two, because those are one is a volunteer job. I think that's important. City council's volunteer. You guys volunteer for that paying.
Free.
So it's a hardcore decision. My favorite question, whenever you guys run, all of you, and I interact with all of you in various degrees. And I just like, when I hear I want to run for city council, my immediate snap reaction in my head is, why?
Again, it just goes back to this conviction of service. It's in me. It always has been. And so I just wanted to, and timing was everything. So I ran for city council, let's see, 2021 to 2024.
Okay. So that's 2 terms, 2 terms.
2 2-year terms. I ran in 21. So the idea was, there were some things, the city wasn't in a bad place. It wasn't doing anything bad per se. It just needed, in my opinion, what I was thinking when I stuck my hand up and said, I will serve the community. The city council members had been there for at least 10 years. All of them had been on council at least 10 years. The newest guy at that time was Greg Sanders, and he's finally going to call it a day here. This is his last term, so he's been on there at least 8 years. They just all been on there a while, and I just thought, through my own life's progression, and I've been kind of a closet politician forever.
That's a fun term. It's interesting.
The term, because here's the nuts and bolts of it, is that I think for a community to grow, for a county to grow, for a state to grow, for a country to grow, it needs fresh blood, fresh ideas, fresh thoughts, fresh perspectives on the same old problems. And I think this is the way a community grows healthily. You can still grow with the same old, but when you bring in fresh perspective, man, you just get different ideas, and everybody spins it and takes a look at it and says, okay, this was good, or no, that wasn't good. But if we're paying attention, we're learning. And that's the key here. We have to learn.
I bang my drum on this all the time, maybe to my own detriment, but like I feel like culture is critical. Culture creates expectations. Expectations drives outcomes. And all of those things are transcendent beyond one individual. And so it's critical that you have a healthy culture that people are able to plug into, find productive opportunities to really drive positive change in service of those other people that they're serving. And I find my biggest challenge in leadership roles I've been in is, and I don't want to like, it just is what it is. People sometimes, I think, get confused about the value they're attributing to themselves by their service, rather than always staying steadfastly focused on the people that they signed up to serve. I don't know if that makes sense, or if that's
So it does, but for me, I couldn't speak. I mean, we could talk about culture all day. It's one of my favorites. Driving, I love to create culture that wins. Like, I don't know what a winning culture is. I mean, if you look around Helotes, I think we're winning. And I think I had a small part in that. If you look in my classroom, my students are winning. And it's because of the culture that I helped to create. Now, I didn't create the whole culture. Again, I come in, I take a look around, I read the room, and I try to bring the culture to the next level, which is whatever that may be. I just try, and I do have a conviction. I want to tell the truth, whatever my truth is, as clearly and plainly as I can, because I think if I tell a plain, clear truth, more people will understand what I'm saying. And the idea is not just to reach you, right, or your audience, but like to talk to everybody. So when I was on the dais, if you go back and you look at those city council meetings, like I am speaking plainly and clearly to the lowest common denominator in the city, right? I want everybody to understand what I'm saying.
yeah.
And that was really part of it for me. So, but the driving the culture thing, I don't drive culture for my own benefit. I do benefit from it, but it's not for me. It's for, and I got kids in this community. I'm driving it for them too. Like, I want to build something where they can pick up where I left off and like get better and win and have a better life. I think we all want that for everybody. That's my purpose.
I think that actually that provides a great backdrop to the stuff we already talked about. I think.
Sure.
What
I mean, it goes full circle after circle after circle.
one of the things I say, and I have a very brief introduction podcast that just sets the table for like why I wanted to do this. And I think for me, like when I hop on LinkedIn or any number of platforms, like I just grow. I have very low threshold for phony, like artificial, carefully curated, non-authentic
I
stuff.
think this is why we get along so well, because I have a low threshold for that too. I call it a bullshit meter, and it pegs quick when I sense it.
So how do you navigate, especially in places of leadership? I mean, what's your approach to like, hey, this needs to be said, or this needs to be approached, or this needs to be considered?
Man, I'm like a bull in the china shop when it comes to stuff like that. Like if I see or if I perceive and think, and I kind of like, sometimes I'll think through the process before I open my mouth, but other times I'm like, no, that's wrong. It's just wrong. And maybe I'm the guy who's wrong, but there's been a few things on city council where I was right, but I got voted down, and that's okay.
That's how it goes.
It's how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm not bitter about it or anything, but that's politics, right? It's like,
and that doesn't just happen at city council. That happens everywhere.
Everywhere. And it happens in life. And it happens in my classroom a lot too. Like, we just get voted down, and it's not always good.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world either, right? We learn, we take our lumps. The key is to learn and move forward.
Right.
In my estimation. But man, it's kind of weird to sit here and be called a leader, right? I never got into any of this stuff to be a leader. I just wanted to make a positive impact on the community. That's it.
I would say,
and
I'm
as
sure
a teacher, make a positive impact on the community.
I'm sure
That's
all 4 people that will listen to this are probably sitting there thinking, but that's the exact leader you want. I mean, whether you're talking local or national or global or whatever, like I think that, well, heck, I would make this statement for America's founding documents and founding fathers. I would think that their intention was to create a culture in which the leaders are the ones that are not going to be able to usurp and just command that power for extended periods. And I don't know how well that's held up at all times, but you want leaders who don't maybe want to be leaders. Like, be weary of the leaders who want that power, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I told myself when I got into this, I would serve no more than 4 years. That's it. I did 4 years. I won't say, I'll be honest and give it my 100% all the time, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
I mean, I put a lot of effort into, you know, learning the codes and how they apply to different situations and then try to interpret it and make the best possible decision for the city. So, I mean, I worked really hard at that. Although I wasn't always successful, I did work hard at it. We were going somewhere with this.
No, I was just saying, man, well, I will say,
Oh,
I think you're a leader. I
oh,
mean, I think you've
thank
done
you.
phenomenal
With the
stuff.
founding documents and all of that, yeah, they wanted a guy like me to come in there and just kind of be what they really wanted, I think, is for all citizens to be aware of what their government was doing. I think at some point in our history, and we could probably debate when that happened, maybe the 50s, the 60s, we just got complacent in our leaders and accepted what they were doing as they were growing the government, making it bigger and creating more help in maybe public welfare programs, which once you're on the, I think personally, when you're on the public dole, when you're receiving, aid that goes on and on and on for decades, like you're just happy to get the check and you don't care what's happening behind the scenes. And I think that's a big problem for Americans.
So it's led to
I,
maybe unintended consequences there.
Absolutely. And but the consequences are becoming more and more apparent to us, especially if I sit in the classroom and these kids just think, you know, raise the taxes on rich. They're, just
Yeah.
tax them more so we can take care of the less fortunate. And at some point, as an American, you want your independence. Like independent personal freedom is a huge deal in America that we really, I think especially these younger kids, they take this for granted and they just have this expectation that I can do anything I want and the government's going to help me pay for it. And at some point I'll give back. And it
Yeah.
just doesn't, that is not what the founding fathers intended. That is not what I think responsible, rational people think also. I don't think they think that.
Man, everything you just said, there's a lot in it. One of my favorite
There's so
books
much in there.
One of my favorite books is written by a guy named John Coogan at the Hoover Institute called The High Cost of Good Intentions. And I would recommend everybody read it because it just walks through the
Yes.
history of entitlements in America. And I'm all for arguing all sides of it. Like, I think that all thoughtful discussion is profitable and has use. But I think, as you know, and as the audience probably knows, like, I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell. And there's the movie he's in called The Other Guys, and he has a line in it. He's like, "What about just 9 million unified and civically minded citizens stepping up to do their part," right? And it's just talking about New Yorkers. Like, instead of us doing everything for everybody, what if we all just step up and do the little bit? I think that is kind of that is really the ideal situation for a leader that I would want to be a leader, because
Yeah.
you don't want to lead through domination. You want to lead through empowerment of citizens being able to have autonomy to make decisions in their best interest and have a more engaged and thoughtful discourse, whether that's in commerce or whatever.
Yes. And the exchange of ideas
That's
in
right.
all of that,
Yes.
right? And not just in the exchange of ideas, you create an environment where we can talk and share and kick these things around and come up with the best possible solution. I might not have it, but I might have a piece of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Like if we just kick around ideas, that's good. And I think if I look at Helotus right now, right, this is the part that I think we could improve on is more. We could stand to use some more civically minded people who would like to step up and enhance the community.
sure. I'm sure
Right. And one of them is, we have an economic development board, we have the city council, we have the planning and zoning commission. I think what would help us is it's each one of those boards were exclusively those people. What I mean by that is like we shouldn't have city council members on the planning and zoning commission. We shouldn't have city council members on the EDC board. We shouldn't have the EDC board as city council members. Like there's this It confuses the two. And also, if we had just EDC members on the EDC, there's 5 different minds that aren't the same like of, city council and planning and zoning. They need 15 different people to do these things.
Yeah.
And Helotes is a town of 10,000 and we're struggling to get 15 people
Yeah.
to step up and do this.
Yeah.
And, because you won't hear me complain about being on city council, right? That's just something I won't do. Was it a lot of work? Yeah. Was it free? Yeah. But I learned a lot. I met a lot of great people and I was able to serve. And I think we need a little more of that from our community. And I don't know how to say it nicely.
Yeah.
We need people to step up. And I'm not going to go back and do it again. I've already done it.
Yeah.
We need people
Yeah.
a new voice, a new perspective. The
Yeah.
city of Helotes needs that.
Right.
And you can read on social media, well, we need this, we need that. No, what we really need is for you to do your part. And I'm not talking to you personally. I'm talking to like the 4 people watching.
Yeah.
Like you 4, come on.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
I think you're right. And so in what you just mentioned, like there's been different iterations of that. And I think that it's hard because I want to talk about that. I have my own opinions too, like on that. I've seen it. I've been on
Sure.
so I'm on the EDC now.
Yeah, right.
And I've seen it with where the city council was not on it. I've seen it now where city council is on it. And like, I think that both of those iterations are worth talking about. Pros and cons to both, but the problem is like you just never get to talk about it enough. It's always like a brief, no, we're going to do this way. Just fall in line. I wish we could talk about it more. And I'm not being critical of anybody watching it, but like,
but you should be critical. We should all be critical.
Right?
I mean, you have to be critical because the process doesn't improve unless we criticize it and pick it apart.
Well, I'm sure some people
come up with a solution to make it better.
Yeah.
Right. And the way we come up with solutions, what we talked about a little while ago, right? We kick around these ideas and say,
just
hey,
public discourse. Yep.
But it has to be public. And then, when you get elected or appointed, the state comes in and says, hey, there's rules to this.
Sure are.
And that really confounds the issue, especially when there's something contentious that really needs to be thoroughly discussed. You get in there and it's happened to me. You get up there on the dais and we're supposed to have a public discussion about this new planned urban development thing going on the corner of Scenic Loop.
Right.
Can't really say what you want to say or you can't really get behind the scenes and really get down into the nitty gritty because it has to all be public. And the people that sit up there on the dais are like, yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. No, tell me more. Like what happens with the runoff? What happens when you make that all pavement? What happens with, the neighbors on the behind of this? What happens with all these different things? But it's really hard to have a public discussion when it's a very uncomfortable discussion.
Yeah, I think that, the natural flow, also it's hard to get people because it's uncomfortable, right?
It's super uncomfortable.
I think this parallels to what I do for a living too, because I feel like I can't possibly be everybody's financial advisor, but I do think people generally, I believe that they will have better outcomes if they're more engaged in their planning process and their investment process.
Sure.
But it's hard because it's like, hey, why are you invested with so-and-so? Well, he's a nice guy. We've been with him, whatever. She's a nice gal. I've been with her forever. It's like, well, that's not really, I don't know that that's what we're looking for. Like, I'd love to see a little bit more engagement there. And then when you try and create content that like hopefully spurs engagement or you're willing to have those conversations, I find like my single biggest piece of feedback for the engagement I do, the marketing I do for my business is like, it's too long, man. It's too long. You gotta make it TikTokable. Like I'm not going to make it TikTokable. Like I engage or don't engage, but don't engage 30 seconds and then feel like you have an opinion that people need to bow to.
Or become an expert in 30 seconds.
Right. It's like
you're looking at 30-second videos, becoming an expert. That's not how life works.
And the nuance, like what you just talked about, the runoff and the concrete, like people just think, again, it's hard because a lot of the noise you hear is like, I don't want X. Well, it's not that simple. There's zoning laws. There's so much to it. And then if you can agree on what you want there, then the environmental impact and the traffic impact.
One of the really big ones is it's somebody's property.
Oh yeah.
How does the government tell you what to do with your property? Wouldn't you be upset if the government came into your house and said, that pool you have in the backyard needs to be filled in. It's just not good. That would be upsetting.
That would be upsetting.
Right? Or the fence it's 6 foot, but it needs to be 7 foot now. It's going to cost you $10,000 to fix it. I'm going to need you to do that. Like, it's my property. Get out of here.
Yeah.
This is, again, those individual freedoms we have as Americans that we just love. But when the government comes in and says, no, you have to wear a mask in your car, that's a problem for me.
Sure.
Like, I don't like that.
Sure.
And when it comes to personal property and being an elected official, like, man, that's a hard line to like really, where's the right thing? And you have to like really sit down and think about it. And it's so much better if you can sit down and have a discussion with people about it. But not everybody, there's like 10,000 people in Helotes and like 3 of them want to have the discussion.
And it's hard because
Maybe
like
4.
it's just there really is so much maturation and development, relational capital that can form by just willing to sit down and say, like, hey, listen, I don't have an expected outcome of this conversation. I just want to see where you're at and I just want to share with you. And vice versa and have a respect. But like we're just all so conditioned nowadays to be to avoid confrontation, avoid
Or,
issues. And that's not we don't have to agree. Like I won't think
yes,
more or less depending on the outcome. Like I just want to have a thoughtful discourse and I really do think, based on what I do, I network and I interact with people all the time. I have my own thoughts on everything, right? But I really do think people are more in common than they don't. They have more in common than they don't.
absolutely.
But we're all meant to believe we're so far apart, and I just don't think that that's true. Honestly, I think that people, even if you disagree a little bit here and there, hey, you know what I mean? Hey,
Right.
no problem. I see where you're at. You see where I'm at.
But
I'm happy to have you in the
yeah.
community.
And I think some of that, and you can build on that. And I think to be successful though, you just have to like look at the person. You're a human being. You're part of my community. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you're from culturally. I don't
Sure.
just, what is your thought on this? And if you're basing your thoughts on what I look like or what,
What
that's
you think I
what,
thought
yeah,
once you thought from
what you
somebody else
think
who
I
told you,
thought
right?
or how I was
Right.
raised has kind of some influence on what, yeah. I mean, of course, all of that matters to some extent, but I think when you start, worrying about what somebody looks like, what color they are, what sex they are, what religion they are,
Sure.
that brings in a whole bunch of problems that really that aren't problems. Those things aren't problems. What are problems are your actions or lack of actions. Those
Mm,
become problematic, right?
yeah.
In a
Well
community.
said.
I mean, that's where the other part of me that gives me ease of conviction, I think, is that I break everything down to the lowest common denominator. What's the most simple form of the issue? And that really helps me deal with it.
Do you find the simple forms all kind of converge on a couple ideas?
Yeah, it
They're
all
all
comes
kind of the
down to
same.
just a couple things, and it's all the same.
The way that
Doesn't
it
matter.
manifests and
Yes,
grows.
and then you can, yeah, and then
Yeah.
it can go 700
Yeah.
different ways. But
Right.
it's
Right. Right.
really, once you break it down to the simplest form,
Yeah.
I mean, people are people. The road's the road.
Right.
It's not going to change.
Right.
But we can, if we're interested in growing as humans and as individuals, we can learn and accept that maybe my way isn't always the best way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really after. And that's what drives my service. I want to impact, not necessarily be a leader.
But that culture, kind of be a culture
Got to
carrier.
be a culture, right? You got to help create the culture. You can't just sit back on the couch and watch podcasts, right?
Amen.
You got to get out there and like be a part of the community, drive the culture.
That's right.
And I think I would love to
Get fired
see
up right now. Bring it.
more people in Helotes to come along and like do it.
Yeah, man.
And I think part of that is like I said, you'll never hear me complaining about serving on a. Am I happy my time is over? Kinda. Some days. Other days, man, I would love to like sit on the dais and have that discussion.
Sounds
But
like you want to join EDC. That's what it sounds like. No,
some,
I was
yeah,
just.
probably not. I don't think I'm qualified for EDC because I'm not a business owner. I don't have a business mind.
No, you're good, man. Your opinions, I'm sure, would always be I would always welcome your opinions on that stuff. So,
Thank you. I mean, we can always kick it around.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy to.
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered some ground. I really appreciate you being open and joining. I think this will be episode 2, probably some sequence stuff.
No
but,
worries. I love the purpose. Like, what is your purpose?
And how do you?
How do you come about? How did you get there? And I think this goes back to, are great men made of the situation, or did the situation
Yeah.
create great men?
Mm.
And what was the purpose of all of that. And so I kind of think I've had a Forrest Gump life. I've got to do some incredible stuff. I mean, he gets to jump out of an airplane at 22 or dive the Great Barrier Reef at 22 or like, you know, live through the Battle of Fallujah and like discuss it and
Yeah.
like all of these different things.
Yeah.
You know, be married twice to 2 incredible women and have 5 children and just 5 amazing children and serve the community and teach.
And you get a wedding this year and you're a grandpa.
Oh
now,
man,
and it's
I'm
all
a
that stuff is
grandpa.
coming. That's
I
really
got
exciting.
just daughters that are just incredible.
Yeah.
Grandpa, I'm just like,
Yeah, man.
I'm killing it.
It's coming together.
Like
It's
I'm
coming
just,
together.
life is just coming to, I hope it keeps going.
Yeah. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Man, you made so many good points.
Thanks.
Any last thoughts you'd like to leave them with?
No, I mean, just if you get a chance to serve. Create an opportunity to serve. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Create an opportunity for yourself to serve, whether it's, you know, being brave and running for city council or volunteering, you know, on the EDC board or the Planning and Zoning Commission, or just show up to a meeting and get involved. Like,
Yeah.
see what's going on.
And just be engaged.
Yeah, be engaged.
Yep.
Like, and know who your community leaders are and like reach out to them and say, hey, I have an idea about this.
Right.
I mean, community leaders are begging for input and interaction with citizens.
Yep.
And man, go do it.
Go do it. There you go.
Go do it. And
the man himself.
Yeah, thank Jesus for all of this.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, Matt, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Good
Thank you
time.
for tuning in. We hope to see you back.
Check it out.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bye.